those schools across the country are seeing these same threats.
So to tell us more about the concerns, we're talking with former Secret Service agent and security expert Mike Matranga. Thanks for joining us. Good morning.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here early with you.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, any idea why? I mean, in these particular last few days, the end of last week, beginning of this week, why schools are seeing so many threats? I mean, it just seems like it all sort of happened at the same time. Are they copycats or what's going on?
Well, I think if you go back and look at historical data after any significant event in the United States regarding a school shooting or school violence, you see this uptick in these particular types of events. I am the national vice chairman of the National Council for School Safety Directors, and these are some of the things that we do as we track these statistics. And again, this is common. However, I think the issue that we have is in America for the last 10 years, we've had social media impacting kids to where they no longer know what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. And, good parenting is always, key to this. But even good parents are not necessarily looking into the things that their kids are doing online. And so, I would advise the nation and parents to just take a step back, start really reevaluating how your kids are communicating online. One of the statistics that we know is that grievances are the #1 cause of violence in schools in America. And yet we focus solely on active shootings. But if we can reduce grievances and fights in general, it's going to reduce violence across the board.
And what kind of impacts do these threats have on school resources? I mean, kids are going to school for one thing, and then we have to stop and address threats like this.
Yeah, being former Secret Service, I also was the executive director of security for a top-ranked school district in the state of Texas and in the nation. I'm speaking from experience of mistakes that I have personally made. It has a tremendous effect on the culture and climate on the campus, and it absolutely disrupts the educational environment to where, pretty much that day or the subsequent days are lost due to whatever event that has occurred. And so, I would just encourage parents to talk to their kids, have some serious conversations, monitor their social media, which is one of the biggest causes of disruption. I would encourage administrators to look at a no cell phone policy. I think it's that time that we start having these serious conversations. These things are just becoming more disruptive, and it's harming the educational environment.
Yeah, and even so, we had those instances here. Our reporter just mentioned not just the threats, but then at a couple of campuses, actually with students with knives, where the students got into a fight. One student stabbed another. What advice do you have? Recommendations for parents sending their kids to school, worried about these things, not just the threats, but actual violence, and they're worried that your child might become in the middle of that.
Yeah, I think it's 7:12 this morning, and most parents are probably getting ready to go to work, and they're listening to this segment, and they probably have some anxiety about sending their kids to school. Right. There's no place in America for that. However, this is where we are. I think it's best that parents start having those hard conversations with their kids of what's acceptable behavior, what's not acceptable behavior, what the consequences of those behaviors are, and talk to them about, in the event of, what will you do, and have basically give those kids the authority to listen to their intuition and make decisions based upon what's right in front of them, instead of following a policy that may cause more harm than good. So, we've got to get better as a society. We have to start putting pressure on our political leaders to encourage more mental health resources in the state of Texas. Texas is ranked in the last 2 years 50 out of 50, while we're sitting on a $22 billion surplus. There's no reason for this. And so, we have to do better as leaders and as parents to put pressure on our political leadership to allocate money, not just towards more law enforcement, because that doesn't stop anyone. Right. That's the truth.
Well, Mike Matranga, we really appreciate your information this morning. This is an issue that unfortunately isn't going anywhere, so would love to have you back on the show and continue this conversation another time.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank
Take
you.
Care.